Hi everyone, I'm Emma.
I'm Jack.
Welcome to our channel.
I had a surprisingly good morning today and nothing special happened. That's the strange part. I didn't get any exciting news, I didn't have an amazing breakfast, and I certainly didn't win the lottery. I just walked to the coffee shop, the weather was nice, and for some reason I felt really happy.
I know what you mean. Some of the best days are like that, aren't they? Nothing happens that you would tell everyone about, but when you look back at the day, you realize you felt comfortable and calm for most of it. There's something really nice about a day that doesn't need a big event to make it memorable.
Exactly, I think I've spent a lot of time waiting for big things to happen. A holiday, a birthday, a promotion, a trip somewhere new, a special dinner, something exciting that gives the day a clear reason to feel good. But sometimes a completely ordinary Tuesday can be one of the nicest days if a few small things happen at the right time.
That's probably because we don't always notice small good things when they're happening. We notice problems immediately because our brains are trying to protect us, but a pleasant little moment can pass without getting much attention. You drink a really good cup of coffee, enjoy it for 5 minutes, and then spend the next 3 hours worrying about an email.
That's painfully accurate. I can remember one bad email from years ago, but I probably can't remember hundreds of mornings when I woke up feeling completely fine. Negative moments seem to leave a stronger mark. Maybe we have to make a little more effort to notice the good ones.
I think so, and I've started doing something really simple. When something small makes my day better, I try to actually acknowledge it instead of immediately moving on. If I hear a song I love while I'm walking, I don't skip it because I'm in a hurry. I let myself listen to the whole thing.
That's a good habit. I do something similar with food. If I'm eating something really good, I try not to eat while looking at my phone. I just sit there for a few minutes and actually taste it. It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, but it makes a difference.
It doesn't sound ridiculous at all. We rush through so many things that are supposed to be enjoyable. We drink coffee while checking messages, eat lunch while working, watch movies while scrolling, and talk to friends while looking at notifications. Then we wonder why our days don't feel very satisfying.
That's true. Maybe enjoyment needs attention. You can have something enjoyable in front of you, but if your mind is somewhere else, you barely experience it. Sometimes I think the problem isn't that we don't have enough good moments. It's that we're not really there for them.
That reminds me of something that happened to me last weekend. I went to a small bakery I'd never been to before. I wasn't looking for anything special. I just wanted something for breakfast, but the place smelled amazing. The woman behind the counter was friendly, and they had this ridiculous little cinnamon pastry.
Ridiculous in a good way.
Very good way. I sat outside with it and a coffee, and I remember thinking, this is actually a really nice morning. Nothing about the morning was extraordinary, but I wasn't rushing anywhere, the food was good, and nobody needed anything from me for half an hour.
That last part probably helped.
A lot.
There's something luxurious about having 30 minutes when nobody needs you.
Absolutely, especially when you've been busy for a while. You don't realize how valuable uninterrupted time is until you finally get some.
And it doesn't even have to be 30 minutes. Sometimes 5 quiet minutes can change your mood.
Definitely, I had that yesterday. I finished work earlier than expected, so I walked home instead of taking the usual route. I passed a park, sat on a bench for 10 minutes and watched people walking their dogs. It wasn't productive at all, which was probably why I enjoyed it.
That's interesting. We often feel guilty about doing things that aren't productive.
Yes, and that's something I've been trying to change. I used to think every free moment should be used for something useful. If I had 20 minutes, I would answer emails. If I had an hour, I'd clean something. If I had an afternoon, I'd try to finish a project.
And now
I'm starting to understand that an hour doesn't always need a job.
I really like that.
Me too, sometimes an hour can just be an hour.
That's probably harder for people to accept than it sounds. We're constantly told to use our time well. Even relaxing has become something we're supposed to optimize. There are articles about the perfect morning routine, the perfect evening routine, the perfect way to relax, and suddenly even sitting on the sofa feels like a task.
Exactly, I've seen advice about how to relax more effectively.
That's almost funny.
It is, apparently I'm not even relaxing correctly.
Maybe you need a course.
I'll put it on my list.
But seriously, I think that's why small pleasures matter. They don't require a big plan. You don't have to organize your entire weekend to enjoy a cup of coffee or take a walk.
And because they're small, they don't create much pressure.
What do you mean?
If you spend a lot of money on a holiday, you expect it to be amazing. If you plan a special dinner, you expect the restaurant to be great. If you wait months for a concert, you expect to have an unforgettable night. Sometimes the expectations become so high that you're almost checking whether you're having a good time.
That's true, I've done that on holidays. I'll be standing somewhere beautiful taking pictures thinking, this is supposed to be amazing. Am I enjoying this enough?
Exactly.
Which is ridiculous.
But very human.
Meanwhile, you can be walking to the supermarket on a random Wednesday and suddenly notice the sky looks beautiful.
And because you weren't expecting anything, you just enjoy it.
That's probably part of it. Small moments don't have to live up to anything.
They're just there.
And maybe that's why they can feel so genuine.
I think so.
I've also noticed that small acts of kindness can completely change my mood. Someone holding a door open, a stranger letting you go ahead in a queue, a coworker bringing you a coffee without asking, a friend sending you a message because they remembered something you mentioned last week.
Those little things can stay with you.
They really can. I once mentioned to a friend that I loved a particular kind of tea. I didn't think anything of it. A few weeks later, she came over and had bought that tea because she'd seen it in a shop.
That's nice.
It was such a small thing, but I remember thinking, you actually listened.
That's probably what made it meaningful. It wasn't the tea itself. It was the fact that someone remembered something about you.
Exactly. Sometimes the smallest gestures communicate something much bigger.
Like when someone remembers how you take your coffee.
Yes.
Or sends you a song because it reminded them of you.
Or saves you the last piece of something you like.
That's true friendship.
Definitely.
Although saving the last piece of cake requires serious character.
Especially if they're hungry.
That's when you know someone really cares.
There are other little things I appreciate too, like getting into clean sheets after a long day. That's one of the best feelings in the world.
Absolutely.
Or taking a shower after being outside all day.
Or putting on comfortable clothes when you get home.
Or taking off your shoes.
That one is underrated.
Very underrated.
There are so many tiny moments during the day when your body basically says, thank you.
And we don't usually count them as happiness.
Maybe we should.
Maybe.
What about music?
Music is huge for me. Sometimes one song can completely change the atmosphere of a day. I'll be tired and slightly annoyed, then a song I love comes on and suddenly I feel like myself again.
Same, and sometimes it's not even a happy song. It can be an old song that reminds you of a particular time in your life.
Those can be powerful.
Very, you hear the first few seconds, and suddenly you're 20 years younger.
Or 10 years older.
That's less convenient.
Depends on the memory.
True.
I love how music can bring back details you didn't even realize you remembered. A smell, a place, a person, a specific summer. Suddenly it's all there.
That's probably why people keep certain songs for years.
Yes, they become little doors into old memories.
And sometimes the memory isn't even particularly important. Maybe it's just a song you used to hear while taking the bus to school.
But because you heard it so many times, it becomes connected to that period of your life.
Exactly.
I think smells do the same thing.
Definitely.
Fresh bread.
Rain.
A particular perfume.
Old books.
Someone's cooking.
Freshly cut grass.
That smell after it rains.
I love that ones.
It's funny how something as simple as a smell can suddenly make you feel safe or nostalgic.
And you don't have to understand why.
You just feel it.
That's one of the things I like about ordinary life. There are all these tiny experiences happening around us that we don't necessarily pay attention to.
Maybe we're too busy looking for bigger experiences.
That's what I'm starting to think.
We wait for the weekend to be happy.
Then we wait for the holiday.
Then the next holiday.
Then the next promotion.
Then the next birthday.
Then retirement.
And suddenly we've spent years waiting.
That's a little depressing.
It is.
But maybe the answer isn't to stop looking forward to things. Anticipation is wonderful too.
Definitely, I love having something to look forward to.
Might too.
The problem is when we treat ordinary days as if they're just something to get through.
That's the part I want to change.
Me too.
I don't want every Monday to feel like something I have to survive until Friday.
Exactly, because most of your life is made up of Mondays.
Unfortunately.
So if you're only happy on weekends, you're giving away a huge part of your life.
That's why I've started making small plans during the week.
What kind of plans?
Nothing impressive. Maybe I'll cook something I really like on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'll go for a walk somewhere different. Thursday night, I might watch a movie I've been saving. Little things.
That actually makes sense.
It gives ordinary days a little shape.
I do something similar with breakfast.
You plan breakfast.
Sometimes, if I know I have a busy day, I'll buy something I really like for the morning. It gives me one small thing to look forward to.
That's surprisingly effective.
It is, you wake up and think, at least there's that.
Coffee.
Coffee.
We're very simple people.
Simple pleasures.
That's the theme.
Exactly.
Do you think people become better at appreciating small things as they get older?
Maybe. I certainly notice them more now than I did when I was younger. When you're young, you often assume you'll have endless time. You don't necessarily stop to appreciate an ordinary afternoon because you think there will always be another one.
That's true.
As you get older, you start realizing that ordinary days are actually the main part of life.
That's a powerful thought.
It doesn't have to be sad. I think it can make you more grateful.
Because you stop waiting for life to become interesting.
Exactly.
You start noticing that it already is.
Yes.
Even if it's just your neighbor's dog doing something ridiculous.
Those are important moments.
Very important.
I saw a dog yesterday that had completely lost interest in walking. Its owner was trying to pull it gently, and the dog had simply decided that the pavement was its final destination.
I respect that dog.
It looked incredibly peaceful.
Maybe that's the secret.
What?
Sometimes just lie down and refuse to continue.
That's terrible advice.
Occasionally excellent advice.
Maybe occasionally.
Say.
But that's another thing. Small moments can come from things we didn't plan. You don't have to create every good experience yourself.
That's true. Sometimes the best parts of a day are accidents.
Like meeting someone unexpectedly.
Finding money in an old coat.
Getting an unexpected day off.
Finding a book you thought you'd lost.
Getting a message from someone you haven't spoken to in years.
Or discovering that the restaurant you've wanted to try has a free table.
That's a good one.
Very good ones.
There is something special about unexpected good news because you weren't waiting for it.
Exactly. It feels like a little gift from the day.
That's a nice way to think about it.
Maybe that's why I like ordinary days with a few surprises.
Me too.
You don't need 10 amazing things.
Just a few good moments.
and enough attention to notice them.
That's probably the difficult part.
Attention.
Yes, we have more distractions than ever. Phones, notifications, emails, videos, messages. Even when something nice happens, we're already thinking about the next thing.
I've caught myself doing that. I'll be sitting somewhere beautiful, and instead of enjoying it, I'll be thinking about taking a picture.
And then about whether the picture is good enough.
Exactly.
And then whether I should post it.
And then whether anyone liked it.
And suddenly I've spent 20 minutes managing a photo instead of enjoying the place.
That's why sometimes I leave my phone in my bag,
That's a good idea.
especially when I'm outside.
I should do that more often.
It's surprisingly peaceful.
I imagine.
At first you feel like you're missing something.
And then,
You realize you're not.
that's interesting.
You notice the people around you. You notice the weather. You hear conversations. You look at buildings. You notice small details.
And you remember that the world existed before your phone told you what to look at.
Exactly.
That's probably why walking can be so good,
I love walking,
even without a destination.
especially without a destination.
That's something I want to get better at.
Just walk.
Yes, not exercise, not commuting, not going somewhere, just walking because I have time.
It's one of the simplest ways to clear your head.
And sometimes you solve problems without trying to.
That's true. I've had some of my best ideas while walking.
Same.
Maybe because your mind isn't being asked to solve anything directly.
There's less pressure.
Exactly.
And you notice things.
Like what?
Small shops, people, buildings, trees, dogs, restaurants you've never noticed. Sometimes you realize you've lived somewhere for years without really seeing it.
That's happened to me.
We become so familiar with our surroundings that we stop looking at them.
And then one day you take a different street and suddenly your neighborhood feels new.
That's such an easy way to add something different to an ordinary day.
Take a different route.
Buy something you've never tried.
Listen to a different kind of music.
Call someone you haven't spoken to in a while.
Sit somewhere you normally walk past.
Cook a meal you haven't made before.
Read a book instead of watching another episode.
That's a difficult one. Sometimes I don't want to read, sometimes I want television.
That's allowed.
Good.
We're not creating a productivity system.
Thank goodness.
We're just talking about small things that make life feel a little better.
Exactly.
And maybe that's why I like this topic. There's no complicated solution.
You don't need to change your whole life.
You can just pay more attention to the life you're already living.
That's a powerful idea.
And probably a cheaper one.
Definitely cheaper than buying a new house.
We're back to houses.
Sorry,
It's okay.
but I do think there's something valuable about making your existing life nicer instead of constantly waiting for a completely different life.
What do you mean by that?
Sometimes we think when I move, I'll be happier, or when I change jobs, I'll finally relax, or when I have more money, I'll enjoy life, and maybe some of those changes really would help. But if you never learn to appreciate small things now, there's no guarantee you'll suddenly become happier later.
That's true.
A bigger apartment can be nice, but you can still have a bad Tuesday.
A better job can be great, but you can still have stressful mornings.
A bigger salary can give you more choices, but it doesn't automatically teach you how to enjoy your time.
And a holiday can be amazing, but eventually you have to come home.
Exactly.
So maybe the skill is learning how to make ordinary life feel meaningful.
I think so.
Not perfect.
Just meaningful.
That's a good distinction.
Because ordinary life will always have boring parts
And annoying parts.
and stressful parts.
And disappointing parts.
You can't remove all of that.
But you can notice the good parts.
Yes,
Maybe that's enough.
sometimes it is.
You know what small thing made my day yesterday?
What?
A stranger smiled at me.
That's it.
That's it.
What happened?
I was walking home and I passed an older man walking his dog. The dog was looking at me and I smiled at it. The man smiled too. We didn't say anything. It lasted maybe 2 seconds.
And you remembered it.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, maybe because it felt friendly. There was no reason for it. We didn't know each other. He didn't want anything from me. It was just a tiny moment between two strangers.
Those moments are surprisingly powerful.
They are.
Maybe because they remind us that we're sharing the same world with millions of other people.
That's a nice thought.
Everyone is going somewhere.
Everyone has problems.
Everyone has things they're excited about.
Everyone is carrying around a whole private life.
And occasionally, two people cross paths and share a smile.
That's enough sometimes.
It really is.
I've also started appreciating conversations with strangers more.
Really.
Yeah, not long conversations, just little exchanges. The person at the bakery, someone asking for directions, a taxi driver telling me about his favorite restaurant. Those tiny conversations can make a day feel more human.
I agree, there's something refreshing about talking to someone you'll probably never see again.
There's no pressure.
Exactly.
You don't have to impress them.
You don't have to maintain the relationship.
You just have a moment.
And then you both continue with your day.
I think modern life sometimes makes everything feel very private. We spend so much time with people we already know or communicating through screens.
So a small interaction with a stranger can remind you that you're part of something bigger.
Maybe that's why cities can feel both lonely and connected at the same time.
That's an interesting contradiction.
Millions of people around you, but everyone is living inside their own little world.
Until someone holds the door open
Or smiles.
or asks how your day is going.
Or tells you your coat looks nice.
That's happened to me.
And you remembered it.
Of course.
Same.
Small things.
Small things.
Maybe we should actually make a list.
A list of small things that make a day better.
Yes.
Okay, coffee.
Good coffee.
Important distinction.
Sunlight in the morning.
Clean sheets.
A message from a friend.
Finding a great song.
Laughing unexpectedly.
Getting somewhere just before the rain starts.
A really good meal.
Finishing something you've been putting off.
Fresh air.
A quiet room.
A comfortable conversation.
A dog that wants to say hello.
A cat that doesn't.
Those are harder to earn.
Very.
A book you can't put down.
A movie that surprises you.
A long shower.
Getting into bed when you're exhausted.
Waking up before the alarm and realizing you have another hour.
That's one of the best feelings.
Absolutely.
Finding something you thought you'd lost.
Getting an unexpected discount.
Even better.
A stranger being kind.
Someone remembering something you told them.
Laughing with an old friend.
Having nothing urgent to do.
That's a big one.
Definitely.
Finishing work and knowing the evening is yours.
That's a beautiful feeling.
A weekend with no plans.
Sometimes.
You don't like unplanned weekends.
I like them, but if there are absolutely no plans, I sometimes spend half the day deciding what to do.
That's still a plan.
A bad one,
Fair.
but I think that's another small pleasure, having something simple to look forward to.
Like what?
Maybe meeting a friend for coffee, not a big event, just something on the calendar that you know you'll enjoy.
That can make a whole week feel better.
Yes, anticipation is part of happiness too.
That's why I like Friday afternoon.
Because the weekend starts.
Because everyone suddenly becomes nicer.
That's true.
People walk differently on Friday afternoon.
They do.
They look lighter.
Maybe because they're mentally leaving work before they physically leave.
Exactly.
There's something nice about that shared feeling.
Even strangers seem happier.
Sometimes,
Maybe that's another small thing, knowing other people are enjoying something at the same time as you.
like everyone sitting outside when the weather suddenly gets warm,
Exactly.
or the first sunny day after a long period of rain.
People come out everywhere.
Cafes become full.
Parks become busy.
People start wearing clothes they haven't seen in months.
And everyone suddenly remembers they have a balcony.
That's true.
Weather changes people's moods more than we admit.
Definitely.
A bright morning can make ordinary tasks feel easier.
And a dark, rainy morning can make everything feel heavier.
Although I like rainy days sometimes,
So do I.
especially when I don't have to go anywhere.
That's the important part.
Rain when you're outside is different from rain when you're inside with a blanket.
Very different.
When you're inside, rain becomes atmosphere.
When you're outside, it becomes transportation problems.
Exactly.
Maybe that's another thing about small pleasures. Context matters.
A cup of tea after a long day feels different from the same cup of tea when you're already relaxed.
A warm shower feels different after you've been outside in the cold.
A meal tastes better when you're hungry.
Sleep feels better when you're tired.
And seeing a friend feels better when you've missed them.
That's true.
Maybe pleasure is partly about contrast.
What do you mean?
If every day were perfect, nothing would feel especially special. The fact that you're sometimes tired makes rest feel good. The fact that some days are busy makes a quiet evening valuable.
That's interesting.
You don't need to make every day amazing. You just need enough variety to notice what feels good.
That makes sense.
And maybe that's why trying to be happy all the time is unrealistic.
Yes, happiness isn't a permanent state.
It's more like a collection of moments.
Good moments mixed into ordinary life.
Exactly.
Some days have more of them,
Some days have fewer.
and that's okay.
I think that's a healthier idea than expecting yourself to feel great every day.
Definitely.
Sometimes a successful day is just one where nothing went terribly wrong.
Absolutely.
You get home, eat dinner, take a shower, and go to bed.
And that's enough.
Maybe tomorrow will be more exciting.
Maybe.
Maybe it won't.
That's okay too.
You sound very peaceful today.
I had good coffee.
That explains everything.
It really does.
I wonder how much our expectations affect our happiness. If you expect every day to be exciting, ordinary days will disappoint you. But if you expect ordinary days, a small good thing can feel surprisingly wonderful.
That's probably true.
Like finding 5 pounds in an old coat.
Or 10.
Let's not get greedy.
I'm just setting expectations.
Fair.
But yes, I think expectations matter. Sometimes we make ourselves unhappy because reality doesn't match an imaginary version of how the day should have gone.
That's happened to me on birthdays.
Really?
Yeah, you imagine a perfect birthday. Everyone is happy, the weather is great, the restaurant is perfect, nothing goes wrong. Then one little thing doesn't work out and suddenly the day feels disappointing.
Even though most of it was good.
Exactly.
Maybe that's why ordinary days can sometimes be easier to enjoy. You don't have a script for them.
Nothing has to be perfect.
You can just notice what's good.
And let the rest be ordinary.
I like that.
Might too.
There's another small pleasure I love, when you suddenly finish all the little tasks you've been avoiding.
Oh yes.
You know that feeling when you've had 5 tiny things on your list for a week?
And none of them takes more than 10 minutes.
Exactly.
But somehow they become enormous in your head.
Then you finally do them all.
And suddenly the whole apartment feels lighter.
Even though nothing physically changed that much.
Your mind changed.
That's probably why small achievements matter too.
We tend to celebrate big achievements and ignore small ones.
But finishing something you've been avoiding can genuinely make you feel better.
Especially when it's something boring.
Like cleaning out an email inbox.
Or organizing a drawer.
Or returning something you bought.
Or making an appointment you've been postponing.
Or finally replying to a message.
Don't look at me.
I wasn't.
You were.
Maybe a little.
Fair.
But there's something satisfying about clearing small things out.
It creates mental space.
Exactly.
Maybe that's another reason a simple life can feel good, not because it's empty, but because there's less unnecessary noise.
Yes.
Fewer things demanding your attention.
Fewer decisions.
Fewer notifications.
Fewer unnecessary commitments.
More room for small things.
That's probably what I'm learning lately.
What?
I don't necessarily need more experiences. I need to experience the ones I already have more fully.
That's a big difference.
It is.
And probably cheaper.
You keep bringing up money.
I'm trying to be practical.
Fair.
But I mean it, sometimes we think happiness requires adding things. More travel, more restaurants, more entertainment, more shopping, more plans.
When sometimes we might need less.
Less noise.
Less rushing.
Less comparison.
Less screen time.
Less pressure.
And more attention.
More quiet.
More conversations.
More walks.
More good food.
Always more good food.
That's one thing we can agree on.
Finally.
But I think the real change is learning to recognize what makes you feel alive in a very ordinary way.
What does that mean for you?
Probably mornings. I like waking up before the day becomes complicated, making coffee, opening the window, listening to the city wake up. There's something about that quiet transition that I really enjoy.
For me, it's evenings, especially when I've finished everything I need to do and I can finally sit down. There's a moment when I realize nobody needs anything from me anymore.
That's your favorite sentence.
It really is.
I understand it though.
What about afternoons?
I like late afternoons when the light changes, especially in autumn.
That's very specific.
I know.
But I get it.
See, we all have these little moments.
And maybe that's what makes a day ours.
What do you mean?
You can have the same schedule as someone else, but the things you notice will be different. Your favorite coffee shop, your favorite street, the music you listen to, the person you call, the food you eat.
So happiness isn't only about what happens to us.
Maybe it's also about what we notice.
I like that.
Might too.
I think I'm going to try something tonight.
What?
I'm going to make dinner, put my phone away, and eat slowly.
That's it.
That's it.
You really have changed.
Maybe.
What are you making?
Pasta.
Good choice.
And maybe I'll open a window.
Even better.
Then I'll probably listen to some music.
Which song?
I haven't decided yet.
Choose something you haven't listened to in a long time.
Why?
Because maybe you'll find an old memory in it.
That's actually a nice idea.
See small things.
You learned something from this conversation.
I did.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And tomorrow.
Tomorrow I'll probably wake up and forget everything we talked about.
That's okay.
Why?
Because maybe I'll remember it again when something small makes me smile.
Like good coffee.
Like good coffee.
Or a dog.
Or a dog.
Or clean sheets.
Definitely clean sheets.
Or an unexpected message.
Or a quiet walk.
Or a good song.
Or someone holding the door open.
Or finding 5 pounds.
You really like the 5 pounds.
I have priorities.
Fair enough.
Maybe we don't need to remember everything.
Maybe we just need to notice more.
That might be enough.
I think so.
And maybe that's why some ordinary days stay with us.
Not because anything huge happened.
But because we were actually there.
We noticed the coffee.
We heard the song.
We laughed with a friend.
We took the long way home.
We saw the sky.
We sat on a bench.
We had nowhere urgent to be.
And for a little while, that was enough.
That's a good place to end.
It is.
I don't think every day needs to be exciting.
Neither do I.
Some days can just be ordinary.
And still be good.
Some moments can last only a few seconds.
And still matter.
Some conversations can be completely simple.
And still stay with you.
Maybe that's what we forget when we're always waiting for the next big thing.
We're already living the small things.
And those small things make up most of our lives.
So maybe we should give them a little more attention.
A little more time.
A little more gratitude.
And maybe a little less rushing.
I can agree with that.
Good.
Now I'm going to get some coffee.
Of course you are.
A good one.
Not just any coffee.
We've learned something today.
Apparently we have.
See you next time, Emma.
See you next time, Jack.
And hopefully somewhere between now and then, we'll both notice a few more small things that make an ordinary day feel a little better.
I'm sure we will, and maybe that's all we really need sometimes. Not a perfect day, not an exciting story, just a few good moments that we were present enough to notice.
That's enough for me.
Me too.